blues fans, welcome to the next episode of This Week in the Blues. It's our weekly take on blues history. I'm your host, Jimbo Big Train Madsen, with the blues band Big Train and the Locomotives. We've got a good show for you today, so let's take a look and see what happened this week in blues history.
Blues musician James "Yank" Ratchell was born on March 16th, either in 1903 or 1910. Ratchell has been called an elder statesman of the blues. His career as a performer spanned nearly 70 years, from the 1920s to the 1990s. He was the composer of several blues standards, including Diving Duck Blues and She Caught the Katy. He was notable for his driving, rhythmic style on the mandolin and the cropped guitar-like phrases he achieved on it. Country blues guitarist Abraham John Bond, better known as Son Bonds, was born March 16th in 1909. Bonds was born in Brownville, Tennessee. He was also billed on records as Brownsville Son Bonds or Brother Son Bonds. He worked and played with the likes of Sleepy John Estes and Hammy Nixon. The music of Bond's 1934 song Back and Side Blues became a standard blues melody when Sonny Boy Williamson used it in his classic Good Morning Schoolgirl. The best known of Bond's other works are A Hard Pill to Swallow and Come Back Home. Blues piano player and singer Lovey Lee was born March 17th, 1909. He's best known for his work accompanying Muddy Waters. He was the adoptive stepfather of the bluesman Carrie Bell. He was born Edward Lee Watson in Chattanooga, Tennessee, growing up in Meridian, Mississippi. He taught himself to play the piano and began performing in various churches and at rodeos and vaudeville shows. Together, Lovey Lee and Carrie Bell moved to Chicago in September of 1956. Chicago blues singer, guitarist, and harmonica player Big Daddy Kinsey was born March 18th in 1927 near Pleasant Grove, Mississippi. He grew up playing gospel music, and his father was a pastor in the Church of God in Christ and disapproved of blues music. However, Kinsey started playing guitar at parties in Mississippi before moving in 1944 to Gary, Indiana, where he worked in a steel mill. He married and served in the military before returning to work in Gary and raising a family. In the late 1950s, he started a family band that eventually became the Kinsey Report that featured Kinsey and 4 of his sons. Blues guitarist and juke joint legend Willie King was born March 18th, 1943. King was born in Prairie Point, Mississippi, near the Alabama border. He worked as a sharecropper, moonshine maker, and traveling salesman, just a few of his many occupations. Later, he became active with the civil rights movement, which inspired him to write socially conscious blues songs. King performed at national and international festivals, but mostly played near his home, most notably as a regular at Betty's Juke Joint in Mississippi, which is immortalized in one of his songs called Betty's Place. Rhythm and blues singer and piano player Clarence "Frogman" Henry was born March 19th in 1937 in New Orleans. He started learning piano as a child, and when he played in talent shows, he dressed like Professor Longhair and wore a wig with braids on both sides. He used his trademark croak to improvise the song Ain't Got No Home one night in 1955. The song eventually rose to number 3 on the national R&B chart. The gimmick earned Henry his nickname of Frogman. The one and only Sister Rosetta Tharpe was born March 20th, 1915. Her unique mixture of spiritual lyrics and electric guitar was extremely important to the origins of rock and roll. She was the first great recording star of gospel music and among the first gospel musicians to appeal to rhythm and blues and rock and roll audiences, later being referred to as the original soul sister and the godmother of rock and roll. She influenced Little Richard, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, and Jerry Lee Lewis. Her guitar playing technique used heavy distortion and had a profound influence on the development of British blues in the 1960s, in particular Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Keith Richards. Founding member of the Fabulous Thunderbirds, Jimmie Vaughan, was born March 20th in 1951. As one of the leading Austin, Texas guitarists of the late 70s and 80s, he was responsible for opening the national market up for gritty roadhouse blues and R&B. Raised in Dallas, Texas, Vaughan moved to Austin in the late 60s, and in 1969, Vaughan's group opened up for the Jimi Hendrix Experience in Fort Worth, Texas. It was at this show that Vaughan lent Jimi Hendrix his Vox wah-wah pedal, which Hendrix ended up breaking. In return, Hendrix gave Vaughan his own touring wah-wah pedal. Blues singer and piano player Marcia Ball was born March 20th, 1949 in Orange, Texas, and raised in Vinton, Louisiana. Ball has been described as a sensation, saucy singer, and superb piano player where Texas stomp rock and Louisiana blues swamp meet. In May 2015, Ball won the Pinetop Perkins Piano Player Award at the Blues Music Awards ceremony. She won the same award in 2019. On October 25th, 2018, Ball was inducted into the Austin City Limits Hall of Fame, where she first appeared during their inaugural season in 1976. Blues drummer and vocalist Sam Lay was born March 20th, 1935 in Birmingham, Alabama. He began his career in 1957 as the drummer for the original Thunderbirds. He soon became the drummer for the harmonica player Little Walter. In 1960, he became the regular drummer for Muddy Waters and remained in Waters' band until 1966. In that time, he also began recording and performing with prominent blues musicians including Willie Dixon, Howlin' Wolf, Eddie Taylor, John Lee Hooker, Junior Wells, Bo Diddley, Magic Sam, Jimmie Rodgers, and Earl Hooker. Classic blues musician Bo Carter was maybe born on March 25th in 1892 or 1893. Other birth dates have him born on June 28th or June 30th, or sometime in January. I mean, that's how records went back then. So we're just going to go with March 21st. He was born Armiter Chapman in Bolton, Mississippi, and together with his brothers Lonnie and Sam Chapman and friend Walter Vinson, they formed the Mississippi Sheiks. Now, the Mississippi Sheiks were the country's most prominent African-American string band in the 1930s when they recorded the classics Sittin' on Top of the World, Stop and Listen Blues, and Wintertime Blues. The great Son House was born March 21st in 1902. He was a major innovator of the Delta style, along with his playing partners Charlie Patton and Willie Brown. Few listening experiences in the blues are as intense as hearing one of Son House's original 1930s recordings for the Paramount label. Even on scratchy 78s, you can still hear the emotional fervor House puts into his singing and slide playing. Not only did he influence scores of British guitar players, he was the main source of inspiration to both Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson. Bluesman Juke Boy Bonner was born March 22, 1932 in Belleville, Texas. He accompanied himself on guitar, harmonica, and drums in songs such as Going Back to the Country, Life is a Nightmare, and Struggle Here in Houston. At the age of 12, he taught himself to play the guitar. He gained the nickname Juke Boy as a youth because he frequently sang in local juke joints. Starting a musical career as a teenager, he won the first prize at a local talent show in the Lincoln Theater in Houston, Texas in 1948. Between 1954 and 1960, he recorded several singles, but not all were released at the time. Okay, blues fans, we just covered some of the highlights here. Now, if you want to know more about these artists or other things that happened this week in the blues, be sure to follow our social media pages, or just go out and visit our website at bigtrainblues.com. Now, we'll have a new episode next week, and we'll include stories about Austin, Texas blues guitarist and singer Sue Foley and the original Sonny Boy Williamson. Not Sonny Boy Williamson 2. I'm talking about the original Sonny Boy Williamson. It's going to be a great show. Be sure to tune in next week, so we'll see you then.